Spring has sprung.
I'm listening.
Yes, for peace. Spring has sprung. Beautiful.
Orders from me?
Of course. Let's dream. All right. Sweet dreams.
If that's what you want.
For peace. Well. I'll do my best. Yeah.
Orders from me?
Of course. Spring has sprung. Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yes. For peace. Well. Time to sleep. Let's dream. Of course.
If that's what you want.
Beautiful. Yeah. Spring is here.
Orders from me?
For peace. Well? Let's celebrate!
Hey everyone, GuardianE here with another Camilla Emblem clear video in Fire Emblem Heroes, today taking on Thrasir, Omnicidal Witch, on her very own Mythic Hero Battle on Abyssal difficulty. So one of the big bads from Book 3 finally has her own challenge map, and it is a Mythic Hero Battle map. So Mythic Hero Thrasir is here finally, and with her she's brought a very familiar map. This particular tile set is one where it's one of the first battles where you engage Veronica in the story, and so this is kind of a callback to that. Naturally, Thrasir being an alternate reality or another version of Veronica. And as you can see, the map is pretty simple but deceptive. Terrain-wise, there's no real advantage afforded to flyers, unfortunately, other than the fact that with guidance enabled, you can kind of teleport past a column to snipe an opposing enemy, but aside from that, there's really no advantage terrain-wise available to flyers. Being indoors and pretty claustrophobic, it means you have to use your moves very carefully and space yourself very carefully. Of course, what that also means is that it makes the AI prone to clumping. Because they have only these narrow paths by which to work, the AI can kind of get tripped over itself if there are enough units. And naturally, this being an Abyssal level legendary/mythic hero battle, there's going to be plenty of units to trip over themselves, and that's part of what we're going to use here as our core strategy. Another piece of this is that it's easy for the AI to get tripped over itself to try to navigate past the columns from left to right, and melee units in particular are going to have a difficult time unless they're cavalry units to really hit their targets, whereas ranged units have a distinct advantage of being able to fire over or through the columns to hit their targets. Another thing worth noting is that the enemy will not engage you unless you bait them in or attack them, so you can take as many turns as you need to set yourself up for the appropriate engagement on turn 1, or I guess on the first turn of your engagement. You can position yourselves however you need to in order to set yourselves up for the perfect first hit. And of course, it wouldn't be a mythic or legendary hero battle without waves and waves of reinforcements. I will say that this particular map has lots of reinforcements ready and waiting for you. However, many of them are triggered by enemy kills. So what I mean by that is that defeating certain enemies on the map will actually trigger the spawn for reinforcements on the following turn. And you can use this to your advantage by being very selective in which of the units that you take out, and if you're able to obviously clear all of the enemies on the map in one turn, then you end the battle and no reinforcements will appear. There needs to be at least one remaining enemy for the next turn to activate for those reinforcements to appear. So let's take a look at Thrasir here. She comes with her Eye Finger, which is a pretty powerful tome, comes with effective dragon damage, and as long as she has an ally within 3 spaces, which is going to be very easy for her on this map, she is going to get +4 to all of her stats, and as well as neutralize a foe's follow-up attack during combat. So those attacks like Bold Fighter, Quick Riposte, those things are not going to be active as long as she gets an ally within 3 spaces, which again is going to be very easy for her to do. She also has Flashing Blade 4, which of course gives her additional cooldown when she attacks. As long as her speed is above her opponent. She comes with 51 speed, so a pretty stacked speed stat. Has Moonbow on her 2-turn cooldown, which means that if she initiates and doubles on you, she's going to activate Moonbow on the second strike. And of course, that deadly combination works in tandem with Killing Intent, because with Killing Intent, as long as her enemy has less than 100% health or has some sort of status ailment on them, she'll give them -5 speed, -5 res, and then if she initiates, we'll essentially get a desperation effect on her. So what that means is that she'll initiate on you, she'll debuff your resistance, debuff your speed, get Flashing Blade ready, do 1 hit, get a 2-turn cooldown so that Moonbow is active, and then immediately do a second hit, activating Moonbow. So it's a pretty deadly combination of effects, and of course she comes with Panic Smoke 3 as well as Chill Attack 3, so a lot of ways to debuff your team. And you're going to see that theme kind of consistent throughout. You've got this red Manakete off to the side that has Attack Ploy. You have the Lance Knight here that has Panic Ploy. You have a Thief, which is a natural. Dagger users are natural debuffers, and of course comes equipped with a Smoke Dagger, as well as Savage Blow. Savage Blow will end up reducing your health or taking your ally's health below 100%, which again will activate the killing intent. And then of course you have this Sword Flyer here, who is actually surprisingly tanky, has IO'd Shield, Distant Defense, and really oddly tanky with Fire Sweep Sword. It's a very strange combination. Something that I also will note is that on each side there are ways to nullify status ailments, so if you're trying to debuff the enemy forces, it's not really going to work to your advantage, at least at the outset, because the Sword Flyer here has Harsh Command Plus, which will essentially neutralize Panic and Threaten, as well as any negative status ailments in general. And then of course you've got the Cleric here, who has Restore Plus, which will also just allow her to essentially neutralize any debuffs that you have on the enemy forces as well. And of course she also comes with Res Ploy 3 to stack that on. So before we jump into the strategy, let's take a look at the Camillas themselves.
Yes.
We'll start off with Vanilla Camilla here. So she's merged at +10, has a speed asset, Camilla's Axe with its special Refine, Reposition Draconic Aura, Distant Counter, Renewal, Hone Flyers for the C slot, and Chill Attack 3 for the Seal. Didn't really actually make any adjustments to the kind of default loadouts for the Camillas. We have Spring Princess Camilla here merged at +10 with a speed asset, has 5 Dragon Flowers and Summoner Support, Brawn Raven Plus, Reposition Draconic Aura, Triangle Adept, Vantage, Goad Flyers, and Distant Defense 3 for the Seal.
Let's drink.
Next up, we've got Adrift Camilla, Flower of Fantasy Camilla merged at +1 to neutralize that Bane, has an attack asset, Book of Dreams, her native tome, as well as Reposition, Draconic Aura, Attack Res Bond 3 and Attack Speed Bond 3 in the A slot and Seal slot respectively, Desperation for the B slot, and Goad Flyers for the Seal.
I'm listening.
And finally, of course, we have Light of Noor Camilla, Brave Camilla, Choose Your Legends Camilla merged at +10 with an attack asset, 5 Dragon Flowers on her as well. She comes with her Sangreater, her native staff, as well as Restore Plus, Miracle, Attack Speed Push 4, Wrathful Staff, Goad Flyers, and Renewal 3 for the Seal. So I had previously mentioned that the AI is very prone to clumping on a map like this because there are very few entry points or engagement points on your team, and they'll really try to funnel their way down one path, or the path of least resistance, and then they'll block themselves and trip over themselves. So that's pretty much the game plan. That's how we're going to approach this, but first we need to engage. And if we're going to engage on the right-hand side, using Brave Camilla to double and hit the Sword Flyer, that is going to put the gravity effect on both the Sword Flyer and the Thief over here. Now bear in mind, I just mentioned the fact that the Sword Flyer has Harsh Command, so the Sword Flyer here will be able to use Harsh Command on the Thief and negate the effects of the gravity, which is fine. That is okay. All we need to do is just make sure that the character that is in the range of the Thief can tank him just fine, and that is Spring Camilla with her colorless advantage. So there we go. The Harsh Command is going to go off, the Thief is going to engage, and the Savage Blow is going to go off, but it's only 7 damage. It's nothing to be too concerned about. And at this juncture, we want to position ourselves down the middle aisle, because this is where we're going to be doing all of our tanking. So we're going to just shift Spring Camilla into place over here, and we want to finish off the Thief, and we can do this with a combination of Brave Camilla and Vanilla Camilla taking him out. Now, Vanilla Camilla is in the range of the Sword Flyer, who has obviously color advantage, but she's tanky enough where she can take that without too much difficulty. We want to move Spring Camilla to safety out of the range of Thrasir here, because she will kill her. So we just want to reposition her to safety for the next turn. So the enemy is going to continue to funnel down the middle here. So now we've got some reinforcements that have showed up. This Bow Cavalier is obviously a big threat. There's a little maneuverability on this map, and the Bow Cavalier and Cavaliers in general just have huge range. And especially a ranged Cavalier, they're very deadly on a map like this, and they're very easy to overrun you. And obviously this Bow Cavalier has effective damage against everybody except for Spring Camilla. So we want to start setting up our blockade in the middle, and we can do this by first finishing off this Sword Flyer because she is a nuisance. We can do that with Vanilla Camilla, and Vanilla Camilla is also now in the range of the Blue Mage, but that's perfectly fine. She can tank him without any difficulty whatsoever. We're now going to use Brave Camilla to just chip away at the Lance Knight, do some significant damage to him. And that's also one of the strategies that we're employing here. Because there's a healer on the enemy team, they're always going to prioritize healing. So you want to just continually be chipping away at the enemies to keep the cleric distracted where possible. Because the cleric does have Gravity Plus. You don't want to take a Gravity Plus hit even if you have Restore on your team so that you can remove the gravity effect on one of your allies, since you're probably going to be clumped together because it's so claustrophobic, you want to avoid that as much as possible. So we'll take this opportunity to just reposition Brave Camilla off to the side here, and she is also in the range of the blue mage, but she's perfectly fine. It's not like this blue mage has Blawraven or anything, so she can tank that without any issue whatsoever. And now we're going to reposition Adrift Camilla to safety, away from the blue mage, and setting up Spring Camilla for the blockade. So because the gravity effect is on the dragon, or the Manakete here, basically the enemy can only shuffle forward very slowly. If the Bow Cavalier had moved forward and attacked first, he would have died, which is why he kind of just stayed behind. Thrasir just moved forward instead, as well as the Manakete, and because the Manakete had limited movement, she could only shuffle behind the Lance Knight there. So now we have this nice line of enemies that can't really progress because they're blocking each other. So at this point, we're just going to take out this newly spawned Axe Fighter. Comes with Slaying Axe Plus, Heavy Blade, Quick Riposte, Odd Attack, so definitely a threat, definitely pretty powerful, but we can just snipe him across the column here with Adrift Camilla without any problem whatsoever. And now we're going to finish off this blue mage on the right hand side, and we're going to use Brave Camilla to do that. And then we're just going to shift Vanilla Camilla to safety right here. So at this point, the enemy forces have to kind of maneuver around themselves to actually engage on the Camillas. That's exactly what we want. And at this point, all we want to do is continue to just do some chip damage, and you'll notice the red Manakete has Fury on her, which means that even if you don't do any damage, like so, she's still going to take the Fury chip damage. And that will make the Cleric prioritize healing the Manakete every single time. Of course, Spring Camilla has Guard on her, as well as Adrift Camilla, because of the this fun little ruse effect. But yeah, now they're all kind of positioned perfectly for us, and we're just going to take out the biggest threat, which is the Bow Cavalier, biggest mobility, biggest range, biggest advantage as far as effective damage to my team. And we're going to use Brave Camilla to just double and kill the Bow Cavalier on player phase. Now, Brave Camilla has Miracle at the ready now, which is very useful to have if she needs to tank a hit, but right now we're just going to reposition her back so that she doesn't have to tank a hit. And we're going to instead use Spring Camilla to, again, hit the red Manakete here and get that Fury chip damage to preoccupy the Cleric. In the meantime, the Lance Knight has done enough 0 damage hits to charge up his Ignis, so next turn, she's going to do a significant amount of damage to Spring Camilla, but Spring Camilla is very, very tanky. She can take that without too much difficulty. We're just going to, again, get that chip damage on the red Manakete. And now we actually want to bait Thrasir to attack, because Adrift Camilla is actually still at 100% HP, and while she does have this stat debuff, she's not going to be inflicted by it after she moves. So she'll move over to this spot right here to bait Thrasir, and she's not in the range of any ploys, she's not going to get hit by the chill attack, so she's going to be able to nullify the effectiveness of Killing Intent, meaning that she's not going to get Desperationed and Moonbowed, she's going to be able to retaliate and kill. So that's what we're going to do. We'll just plant Adrift Camilla right there. Okay, that Ignis goes off, and then of course Adrift Camilla can take out Thrasir. Now, taking out Thrasir does not initiate any reinforcement spawns, so at this point we're just down to these 3, and we want to just take them out all at the same time and coordinate. We can take as many turns as we need to in order to do that. As soon as we take out one of them, a couple of cavalry will appear. I believe there's cavalry that'll appear when you take out the Lance Knight, as well as the red Manakete, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, you can get really crowded really quickly if you decide to take out these units and leave one of them remaining. So the most difficult unit to KO on the enemy team right now is this red Manakete, because I don't have a blue unit, or I didn't bring one with me, and this red Manakete happens to have a red Tomebreaker, which means that Adrift Camilla is not going to be able to double her, so that is a problem. So what we want to do instead is we want to chip away at her, and we just want to take our time in doing so. We also have Brave Camilla here with Miracle at the ready, so we'll use that to our advantage. So first off, we're just going to kind of shift over to the side.
Of course.
Reposition Brave Camilla up, and we'll use her to engage on the red Manakete here. Chip away at her. She'll also take the Fury chip damage. And we're also going to use Spring Camilla to chip away at the red Manakete as well. The Lance Knight is going to continue attacking into Spring Camilla, which is perfectly fine. He doesn't have Ignis active, and when he doesn't have Ignis active, he just does 0 damage. So we're going to use Spring Camilla to again chip away at the red Manakete, who's going to take the Draconic Aura damage as well as the Fury chip damage. So the Cleric is going to prioritize healing. We'll heal the Manakete. Manakete will go ahead and engage on Brave Camilla, and Miracle will activate, saving her for this turn. So at this juncture, we are perfectly positioned to just clear the map, take out the remaining units, and not have to worry about any more reinforcements. We're going to use Brave Camilla to finish off this red Manakete, just like so, and we're going to use Adrift Camilla to finish off the Lance Knight as well. And now we can use Spring Camilla to go ahead and take out the Cleric on player phase. And that's it. That's the strategy that I employed with Camilla Emblem to clear Thrasir Omnicidal Witch on her Abyssal level Mythic Hero Battle. Let me know in the comments below what strategies and teams you ended up using to clear this Abyssal level challenge. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please feel free to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. We thank you all so much for watching, deciding to take some time out to watch one of our videos. We really appreciate it. And until next time, let's protect those skies.